Up next, 3 foods with one thing in common: Ulster corned beef, Jersey black butter and Bath chaps. Now, it might sound like I've been reading the menu from some smart new restaurant, but in fact, I've been reading up on foods that used to be commonplace around the UK. Like anything else, of course, foods go in and out of fashion. And while there are some that remain consistently well loved, over the years, others have gone through waves of popularity. So we wanted to tap into what makes certain foods stay one step ahead of the competition and look into why other long-established favourites could well be heading for extinction. It's the annual Marmalade Festival in Penrith in Cumbria. Artisan marmalade makers are here to show off their creations, and the rest of us are welcome to join in everything from marmalade question time to marmalade cookery classes and, best of all, a marmalade tasting competition. It's a celebration of the age-old orange spread, organised by Jane Hazel McCosh.
My awards and festival started 12 years ago now with 60 pots from friends and neighbours, and I somehow managed to persuade them to put them in for a competition. But it's grown from strength to strength. Each year we think, well, perhaps if it's not going to be so good, we'll give up. But each year, even more pots come in.
Judging the competition are Marmalade Supremos Eileen and Doreen, who know exactly what they think makes the perfect pot.
The perfect marmalade needs to be beautifully clear, well-cooked peel, which is quite a fault that most of them have.
And the consistency, it has to be a nice jelly-like consistency rather than a syrupy. It makes an awful difference.
Fellow marmalade enthusiast Rose simply can't get enough of it.
I think marmalade is one of the best things ever. I was brought up with it and I love it on toast, but I think it's also very versatile. There's so much you can do with it, and I think that's kind of been forgotten and we need to bring it back in a way.
From the crowds here today, you'd never know that in actual fact, despite being a breakfast favourite for hundreds of years, marmalade sales have declined in recent years by 4.7%. And there doesn't seem to be a new generation of fans waiting in the wings. Just 10% of marmalade is sold to households with children.
It doesn't surprise me that young people don't like it, but I think there's a lot we can do to make sure that they realise that it's very versatile and there's actually so much you can do, whether it's cooking with it or you could put it in a cocktail. It doesn't just have to be on your toast.
But marmalade isn't the only food once considered a staple of the British diet to have taken a nosedive in sales. Our food buying habits are constantly changing. So also now going out of fashion is white bread. Since 1974, its sales have fallen by 75%. And traditional tea and tinned foods are also reportedly in decline. Adam Leyland from the trade magazine The Grocer has a few clues as to what impacts food trends.
So here we have the tin. This is a technology that's been around for 200 years. It's a technology that is old-fashioned and new technologies have replaced it. Most particularly, we like our food fresh and chilled. And over the last 40 years, an incredible chilled supply chain has been developed that means that we can now have our food fresh.
If supermarkets' ability to sell fresher food plays some part in changing what we eat, another factor some would say is our more sophisticated tastes.
So if you take wrap bread, that technology has been around for 90 years, and at the time it was a miracle, hence the phrase, best thing since sliced bread. But our tastes are changing, so we want more premium loaves. We want gluten-free loaves because there's concerns about bloating associated with bread. And we want no carbs at all. That's another key diet-based trend.
So as tastes and technologies change, it's the job of manufacturers and retailers to adapt and evolve their products to keep us buying. And one section of the market that's done exactly that is frozen food, which seems to have gone all upmarket.
In the last year or two, there's been big investment in selling up the power of frozen. So they've said, let's get frozen food, but let's make it frozen and really fine quality. And in doing so, they've ticked a trend and achieved real uplift in sales for the first time in years.
So reinvention and rebranding is the name of the game in the food industry, in order to keep old trusty products from being consigned to the culinary history books. But when it comes to marmalade, there's no doubt that many young people would much rather spread other products such as peanut butter and chocolate spread on their toast than something that contains fruit. In fact, while marmalade sales dwindle, those of chocolate spread Nutella have continued to rise. It's now the UK's top spread, with sales worth over £50 million. Now, one person who goes nuts for the stuff is Olympic canoer Rebecca Simon.
I've liked chocolate spread ever since I can remember, and whenever we went on summer holidays with my grandparents, I remember that we were always allowed a teaspoon of chocolate spread a day with my brother. My top 3 ways would be on a crepe, but totally filled with chocolate spread. Another favourite is chocolate spread filled donuts, but again, like really full. But my absolute favourite out of these is eating it with a spoon out of the jar.
So why is chocolate hitting the mark over the go-to spread of the past?
I've tried marmalade once, thinking that it was going to be really, really sweet, and then it was a very disappointing first taste.
One big plus for marmalade is the price. We found an own brand marmalade for just 40 pence a pot. That's 4 times cheaper than the cheapest chocolate spread. But of course, it's been proven that our tastes do change. A recent survey suggests that nearly 3/4 of us now have a much bigger range of foods in our diet. So as the variety expands, the harder products have to work to stay on our shopping list.
Some products, of course, go away. But it's amazing how many have a sticking power. But as they get less popular, they're taken less seriously by the supermarkets. The space they're given declines, and it takes a great deal of energy and money and innovation, frankly, to revive an ailing brand. So you think of some of the classics of the last few years, for example, a rejuvenation of the smash instant potato. That's a product that's been in decline for years. It was considered unhealthy, but there's potential evidence for it coming back.
So in an attempt to keep marmalade on trend, we're going to do an experiment, and to do it, we need someone who really, really loves the stuff. Meet 29-year-old Ollie Gregory from London.
The thing I really like about marmalade is that bittersweet taste. Compared to other things, it's not too sweet, it's not too sickly, and that kind of citrusy tanginess is something I really enjoy. I like particularly the ones with the big fruit pieces in. I can't stand peanut butter. I think it's the devil's food.
Marmalade's drop in fortunes may in part be down to what's perceived by some as an apparent underinvestment in its branding. But if that means the image of marmalade has perhaps gone a little past its sell-by date, well, perhaps we can help. Ollie has agreed to help promote our new marmalade. But first we asked a branding agency to come up with an original concept that could reignite the public's passion for the citrus spread.
It's been a fantastic kind of dream brief for us to rethink and re-envisage an entire product, really, and a sector or a range like marmalade. So to be able to do that has been fantastic for us, and we've thrown ourselves into the research of it, seeing what all the current brands are doing, and they are super targeted at the older demographic, really.
So as this team got to work, they ditched the old and brought in bold writing, fun wording, and branding that's actually dropped the word marmalade altogether.
So we felt like words like zest and zing, and they were short and snappy, and they felt like they might appeal to a younger market, and the kind of thing that would jump off the shelf. If it was twinned with the right design, it'd just be stand a mile apart from that current traditional bakery kitchen feel that you were getting.
Rebranding has worked for other food and drink. By adopting a healthier image, the sales of popcorn rose 169% from 2010 to 2015. And real ale has seen a recent resurgence, with 31 million pints being drunk in 2015 alone.
So we think our concept changes the perception of marmalade because it's inviting you to use it in different ways. It's not just something used at breakfast on your toast. You know, the packaging literally says a zesty spread for much more than bread. It's short, it's snappy, and we feel it's something someone may pick up when they might not necessarily pick up marmalade. And then we're going to use, it's a splodgy, juicy orange spread. Don't just put it on your bread, how about using it in your cakes?
So back in London, we asked superfan Ollie what he thinks of the new design.
It reads, squidgy, squishy, splodgy spread. My initial reaction is that I think it's definitely along the right lines. It's quite punchy, it's very bright, it's very energetic. It talks about the kind of flavours a lot more. It doesn't actually refer to marmalade, which I find interesting.
But Ollie's a fan of marmalade already, so we asked him to put our new pots to a wider test. And where better to gauge public opinion than amidst the huge variety of street food stalls at one of London's oldest and best-loved markets, Lower Marsh.
Looking at these jars of marmalade, what do you think about the branding?
Well, they're all very direct, give a very special, a punchy idea of what to use marmalade for or in.
I like the boldness of them, and just straight to the point, smother it on the scones.
Do you know what? I love that it tells you where you should put it.
I know.
Use it on porridge. That's got me. Not just you put marmalade on porridge.
Put marmalade on anything, so it's very versatile.
It would probably look good if you put it on social media. Imagine you set it down on the table and then you took a little picture of it, the filter and everything.
It wouldn't appeal to me at all.
Why is that?
Dollop some on your porridge. I don't need to be told what to do with it, quite frankly.
I think the black tops are quite sinister. That black and then food, for me, doesn't go together very well. Maybe a younger generation will have a different idea to that.
If you saw it in the aisle in the supermarket, what do you think you would think?
Well, I wouldn't even look at it.
If I was in the condiment aisle and I saw one of these, I'd probably take it home, A, because it doesn't say it's marmalade, and I think it was a different type of jam.
This is more fresh, it's new.
Yeah.
And, it's your human nature to like things that are new and current.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely give it a go.
So it seems it's job done. This entirely unscientific test has gone at least some way to show that when it comes to food, all it takes to turn someone's head and hopefully their taste buds is a bit of clever packaging.
I think marmalade's always gonna be with us. If you think about a lot of food trends, things go in cycles. So 20 years ago, 10 years ago, beers, particularly real ales, were very unpopular. And if you look at it now, you go into a pub, there's hundreds of beers on offer. So hopefully marmalade gets picked up and made trendy for the new generation.
Well, Ollie will be keeping his fingers crossed on that one. And with foods regularly going in and out of fashion, he may well get his wish. But ultimately, of course, the thing that determines the fortunes of our favourite foods is whether or not we choose to buy them. So while marketing, cost and other factors play their part, in the end, I'm afraid it's all down to us.